Her heart raced in her chest as she gazed up at the night sky. The golden moon cast its light over the land, shimmering through the branches of the trees as if the universe itself were calling to her. "Why are you here?" Astrid, a hoarse whisper of a voice came from behind her, making her jump and turn. Beside her stood a man, his black hair as dark as midnight and his eyes silver like moonlight. His skin glowed under the moon's light, as if he were a creature not of this world. Astrid couldn't take her eyes off those eyes that held mystery and power she had never felt before. "I can't leave you," she whispered, her heart pounding as if it were being controlled by him. Who was he? A supernatural being? A ghost? Or merely a dream? But deep down, Astrid felt a connection, a force that she couldn't explain. "You are the one I've been searching for all my life." His voice was like wind through the trees. Astrid could feel the truth in his words, the feeling that they had known each other for a long time, even though this was the first time she had met him. "Why me?" Astrid thought, but couldn't speak the words. "Because you are my fate," he replied, his silver eyes flashing. Every word he spoke seemed like a spell, a promise that the bond between them could not be denied. But within those eyes, Astrid could also see something else, something painful. He was carrying a secret, a sacrifice she couldn't yet understand. That night, under the ethereal moonlight, they walked together in silence. A strange feeling surrounded them, as if they were two souls who had lost each other long ago and had now found one another. But within that beauty and mystery, there was a new anxiety in Astrid's heart. Was this truly a fated encounter? Or merely a game of destiny? She looked into his eyes once more, and this time, it wasn't just fascination, it was understanding. She and he were not just two people, they were two halves of a whole, a story yet to be fully told. And no matter what happened next, Astrid knew she could never return to the world she had known. As the moon climbed higher, Astrid felt his power flow through her body. What was this? Was it love? Or a supernatural bond between them Astrid couldn't explain. But she knew her life would never be the same after this moment. "You will be safe with me," he whispered, his voice warm like a summer breeze. Astrid felt a strange peace, as if nothing could separate them. But at the same time, a new fear began to rise in her heart. Was this bond really love? Or was there something darker awaiting them? In a fleeting moment, they turned and fled into the forest, moving quickly under the dark shadows of the ancient trees. Astrid could feel her heart pounding in her chest. But beside her, he was always there, never leaving her side. No matter the challenges ahead, their love was not meant to be easy, but rather a constant fight to protect each other. When they reached a quiet spot in the forest, he stopped and turned to face her. "There is something important we must do," he said. Astrid couldn't fully understand, but the seriousness in his eyes told her that something huge was about to happen to make our love complete. "We must give up something," he continued. Astrid's heart felt like it was about to break. "Give up what?" she asked, her voice trembling, but he didn't respond, only stood still and held her hand tightly. And then, a strange sound filled the air, like a low growl coming from far away. Shadows appeared on the horizon, and Astrid realized that their challenges weren't just about love, they were about survival. A fight to protect the one she loved. When the creatures stepped into view, Astrid felt the tension rise in the air. She realized that her love for him wasn't just about passion, it was about a world she had to learn to survive in. "We have to leave now," he whispered. But Astrid couldn't leave without understanding what would happen next. She had fallen in love with him, and that love had drawn her into an adventure she wasn't ready for. Under the night sky, the creatures emerged wolves, their eyes wild, and their fur shining like silver. Astrid felt a strange excitement running through her veins, and in that moment, she understood that their story wasn't just about love. It was about facing the unknown, about accepting the strange and mystical forces surrounding them. "We must go now," he whispered again, urgency creeping into his voice. But Astrid couldn't leave, not without knowing what the future held. The love between them wasn't just a fleeting passion. It was a force that would shape everything, even their survival. With a final look into his silver eyes, Astrid made up her mind. She would fight for him. For them. No matter what it took, they would face whatever darkness lay ahead. Together, the wolves circled them, eyes glowing in the moonlight, their growls filling the air. Astrid could feel the tension building between the creatures and the man beside her. Was he one of them? Was he connected to the wolves? Her heart raced. "What is this?" she asked in a whisper, trying to keep her voice steady. "Don't worry," he said, turning to face her. "They won't harm us. I'll protect you." The sound of his voice reassured her, but the primal energy in the air told her that their journey was just beginning. Whatever was happening here, whatever this bond was, it was far more than either of them had anticipated. The largest wolf, its fur gleaming silver under the moon, stepped forward, its glowing amber eyes locked with the man. Astrid felt a wave of fear wash over her, but the man held her tight. "Stay close," he murmured. "Trust me." His words were calming, but she couldn't shake the feeling that she had just stepped into something ancient, something she wasn't prepared for. The wolf sniffed the air, its sharp gaze never leaving Astrid. The man spoke softly in a language she didn't understand, his voice low and rhythmic. A prayer or command. The wolves slowly backed off, retreating into the shadows of the forest. The air seemed to calm, the tension fading as quickly as it had arrived. "What was that?" Astrid asked, her voice still trembling. "Who are they?" Her heart thudded in her chest as she tried to understand what had just happened. "They're the protectors," the man said, his voice steady. "But not all of them are our allies." He looked toward the trees, where the last of the wolves had vanished. "There are others. Darker forces I've been running from for years." Astrid's confusion deepened, but she couldn't deny the pull between them, the unspoken connection that seemed to tie her to him. She wasn't afraid. Not really. But she felt something deep inside her, stirring something primal. "I have to tell you something," the man said, taking her hand in his. His touch was warm, grounding. "My name is Kaelen, and I'm not just a man. I am bound to the wolves, to the moon. My people are a part of this land, and I've been running from my destiny." Kaelen's words sank deep into Astrid's heart. "Your people, the wolves," she whispered, looking into his silver eyes. "You're one of them," Kaelen nodded, his expression darkening. "I am a protector of this land, but I've been hiding from my true nature, my blood. It calls to the moon. It calls to you." Astrid's heart skipped a beat. "Me, why me? Because you were chosen." "Astrid, you have a power within you that you don't even understand yet," Kaelen said softly, his thumb brushing over the back of her hand. "You've felt it, haven't you, the connection between us?" She nodded, a flood of emotions rushing through her. The connection was undeniable, as if her soul had always known his. But there was more to it than that. There was something ancient, something destined. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that we were meant to meet. Our fates are intertwined, and the power we share will either save us or destroy us," he said, his voice filled with a quiet intensity. The wind picked up, rustling the leaves above them, and Astrid shivered. The night was growing colder, and the forest seemed to be watching them, alive with an ancient energy. She didn't know if she was ready for the storm ahead, but she felt something inside her stir, a sense of purpose she hadn't known she had. "I don't know if I can handle this," Astrid admitted, her voice trembling. "I'm just a girl. How can I be part of this world?" Kaelen cupped her face in his hands, his eyes softening. "Because you are stronger than you know, and you've always been part of this world. Even if you didn't realize it." The wind died down, and for a moment, it was as if time itself had stopped. Kaelen's lips brushed against her forehead, a gentle gesture that left her breathless. And in that moment, Astrid knew her life had changed forever. There was no going back now. As the night grew deeper, they moved further into the forest. Kaelen guided her through the trees, his presence a steady beacon in the darkness. The bond between them seemed to grow stronger with each step, pulling them towards something neither of them fully understood. They reached a clearing where the moonlight shone down like a spotlight, illuminating the forest floor. Kaelen stopped and turned to face her. "This is where the real journey begins," he said, his voice low and steady. "I can't protect you forever. Astrid, you'll have to learn to harness the power within you." Astrid felt a mix of fear and determination. She didn't know what this power was, but she knew she had to find it. "How do I begin?" Kaelen smiled, a glint of pride in his eyes. "You've already begun," he said. "You're here. You've embraced what's happening between us. Now, we face the challenges ahead together." They stood there, side by side, bathed in the light of the moon. The air around them hummed with energy, and Astrid felt a sense of peace she hadn't known before. For the first time in her life, she felt like she belonged. Kaelen took a deep breath, his gaze never leaving Astrid. "There's something more I haven't told you. My people, our kind, are not the only ones who roam these lands. There are others, darker, more dangerous creatures who seek to disrupt the balance. I've been protecting this forest for years, but they're growing stronger." Astrid's heart tightened at his words. The feeling of being caught between two worlds, the ordinary and the extraordinary, was becoming overwhelming. "What do you mean? What kind of creatures?" Kaelen's expression hardened, and for the first time, she saw a flicker of fear in his eyes. "Shapeshifters, dark witches, the ones who have corrupted the magic of the moon and twisted it for their own ends. I've been running from them, but they know I'm here now, and they'll stop at nothing to claim the power we share." Astrid shook her head, trying to make sense of it all. "But why me? Why would they want me involved? You have the blood of the moon within you." "Astrid," Kaelen said softly, "your true power is tied to the magic that runs through these lands. The bond between us. It was never just about us. It's about saving this world from the darkness that threatens to consume it." She stared at him, the weight of his words sinking in. It felt like everything in her life had been leading to this moment. But she wasn't ready. "How am I supposed to fight them? I'm just a girl from the village. I don't know how to fight." Kaelen stepped closer, his presence overwhelming. He cupped her chin gently, lifting her face to meet his gaze. "You are so much more than that. Astrid, the magic within you is ancient. It has always been there, dormant, waiting for the right moment. And now, that moment has come." He paused, his eyes softening. "You may not feel ready, but trust me, you will be. You don't have to do this alone. I'll be by your side, always." Astrid could feel her pulse racing, the weight of his words settling in her chest. She had always known there was something more to her life, something calling to her from the depths of her soul. But now, as the forest seemed to come alive around them, she couldn't deny the truth. Her life had changed forever. The ground beneath them rumbled faintly, and Astrid glanced around in alarm. The wolves. They had returned. Kaelen's posture stiffened, his eyes scanning the trees. "Stay close," he whispered. "Whatever happens, do not move from my side." She nodded, her heart in her throat. Something was coming, something powerful and dangerous. As the wolves emerged from the trees, Astrid felt a chill run down her spine. They were not like the ones she had seen before. These wolves were larger, their eyes burning with an unnatural intensity, their bodies rippled with raw power, and their movements were eerily synchronized. One of the wolves stepped forward, its eyes locking with Kaelen's. There was something different about this one, something she couldn't explain. It seemed to communicate with him silently, its presence both commanding and protective. "This is Ashar," Kaelen said quietly, his hand on Astrid's shoulder, guiding her forward. "The leader of the pack. He is bound to me, just as you are now bound to me." Astrid swallowed hard, trying to process everything she was learning. She had so many questions, but now didn't seem like the time to ask. The wolves surrounded them in a protective circle, their eyes watching for any signs of danger. "We must leave the forest," Kaelen said suddenly, his voice tight with urgency. "The Dark Ones are closing in. They're more powerful than I've ever feared." Astrid looked up at him, feeling a surge of determination. "Where do we go? To the hidden sanctuary?" Kaelen replied, "It's the only place we'll be safe." He turned to Ashar, and the wolf gave a low, guttural growl in response. Without another word, the pack began to move, and Kaelen guided Astrid through the forest at a rapid pace. As they ran, Astrid couldn't shake the feeling that something was following them. The trees whispered with unseen movement, the shadows shifting around them like a living presence. The forest felt alive in a way she had never experienced before, and she realized with a sinking heart that she was no longer just a bystander. She was part of this world now. A world of magic, wolves, and darkness. They reached the edge of the forest as the sun began to rise, casting a golden glow over the landscape. In the distance, Astrid could see a towering mountain, its peak hidden in the clouds. That was their destination, the hidden sanctuary. But as they approached, a shadow fell over the group. A figure stepped out from behind a boulder, blocking their path. Astrid's heart skipped a beat. The figure was tall, with dark robes that billowed in the wind. His face was obscured by a hood, but there was no mistaking the cold energy that radiated from him. Kaelen stopped in his tracks, his hand instinctively reaching for the sword at his side. "Talon," he muttered under his breath. The figure raised his head, revealing a face as cold as the winter wind. His eyes gleamed with a sickly yellow hue, and a cruel smile spread across his lips. "Kaelen," he said, his voice dripping with malice. "I've been looking for you." Astrid's pulse quickened, and she instinctively stepped closer to Kaelen. The air around them crackled with tension, and the wolves growled in unison, ready to strike. "What do you want?" Talon, Kaelen demanded, his voice low and dangerous. Talon's smile widened. "I want what's mine," he said, his gaze flicking to Astrid, "and I'll take it." One way or another, Kaelen's grip on his sword tightened, but he didn't move. The tension in the air thickened, and Astrid could feel the weight of Talon's presence pressing down on them. She stepped closer to Kaelen, her heart racing, but her mind clear. "What do you mean?" "What's yours?" Kaelen asked, his voice controlled. But the underlying fury was unmistakable. Talon's eyes flicked over to Astrid, and for a brief moment, she felt an overwhelming sense of dread. The look in his eyes was cold. Calculating, he was sizing her up, as though she were a mere object, a thing to be claimed. "You've taken something that doesn't belong to you," Talon said, his voice dripping with disdain. "The girl, she is the key to everything, Kaelen, and I will not let you stand in my way any longer." Astrid's mind raced. "She's the key." What did that mean? She glanced at Kaelen, whose expression was one of grim determination. "You don't understand," Kaelen said. "Astrid isn't some prize to be claimed. She's part of this world, part of the balance of magic, whether you like it or not, and she's under my protection. If you want her, you'll have to go through me." Talon chuckled darkly, the sound echoing in the stillness of the forest. "I'm not interested in your petty protection, Kaelen. I want the power she possesses. The power of the moon. The power you've kept hidden for too long. And you'll see. I'll have it whether you fight me or not." Without another word, Talon raised his hands, and the air around them shifted. A dark, swirling energy gathered in his palms, crackling with malevolent force. The ground trembled beneath them, and Astrid could feel the magic in the air, thick and suffocating. "Stay behind me," Kaelen ordered, his voice low and urgent. His sword gleamed in the dim light as he took a step forward, positioning himself between Astrid and Talon. Astrid's heart pounded in her chest, her mind screaming for answers. But there was no time. The power Talon was wielding was raw, dangerous. She had no idea how to fight it. Kaelen moved quickly, stepping into the path of the dark energy. He swung his sword, and a burst of light erupted from the blade, clashing with Talon's dark magic in a violent explosion. The force of the impact sent Astrid stumbling backward, her hands instinctively reaching for the ground to steady herself. Talon sneered, his power growing stronger as the dark energy surged around him. You cannot win. Kaelen, you are weak. The moon's magic is mine to command. Kaelen's expression faltered. But he stood firm. I will not let you destroy everything I fought to protect. Astrid's mind spun. But then a thought struck her. The moon's magic. That was the key. Her mind flashed back to the moment she had first felt the pull of the moon, when Kaelen had kissed her beneath its light, when their bond had deepened. She had felt it then, the connection to something greater than herself. Could she tap into that power now? A surge of determination rose within her. And before she even knew what she was doing, she stepped forward. Her hands trembled. But she focused on the moonlight above them, on the power that Kaelen had told her was within her. The magic was there, pulsing beneath her skin, and she could feel it growing, reaching out. Stop, she shouted, her voice trembling but strong. You want the moon's magic? Then take me. Both Kaelen and Talon turned to her in shock. Kaelen's eyes widened with alarm. Astrid. No, but it was too late. Astrid's hands reached toward the moonlight, and she felt the power course through her like a river of fire. It was overwhelming, but not painful. It was pure, raw energy, the kind of magic she had never known she possessed. Talon's eyes gleamed with greed as he stepped forward, his hand reaching out toward her. Yes, finally, the power will be mine. Astrid closed her eyes, focusing on the moon, on the power that flowed through her. It wasn't just about the magic, it was about the connection she had with Kaelen, with the forest, with everything around her. She wasn't just a vessel for the magic, she was its guardian. No, she whispered, and the magic in her flared, the energy expanding outward in a brilliant wave of light. Talon's expression faltered as the light surrounded him. Pushing back his dark magic, he staggered back, his hands raised in defense. But the power was too much. No, Talon cried out, his form dissolving into the light, until there was nothing left but a faint trace of darkness that soon evaporated into the air. Astrid collapsed to her knees, exhausted from the effort. But the forest was still, the air clear. The magic that had been swirling around them faded, leaving only the gentle rustle of leaves in the wind. Kaelen was at her side instantly, his arms supporting her as she fell against him. Astrid, are you all right? She nodded weakly, her heart still racing. I think I am, but I don't understand. How did you tapped into the magic of the moon? Kaelen said softly. It's within you, Astrid. Always has been. But you needed to believe in yourself to access it. You've done something incredible. Astrid looked up at him, still trying to comprehend what had just happened. But why did I do that? Kaelen smiled, his eyes warm with affection. Because you're not just a girl from the village. Astrid, you're the one the moon chose. You and I were connected by more than just magic. We're bound by destiny. She gazed at him, her heart pounding. Destiny. The word had never seemed so real, so true. And as she looked at him, something in her shifted. She had found her place in this world. She was no longer lost, no longer unsure. She had found her strength, her magic, and her purpose. She had found Kaelen. Kaelen helped Astrid to her feet, still holding her gently but firmly. There was a long pause as they stood there together, the weight of everything that had just happened hanging in the air. The forest around them was still, almost peaceful, as though the magic they had unleashed had restored the natural order. For the first time since their journey began, Astrid felt a sense of calm settle over her. The air seemed lighter, her mind clearer. She had used the moon's magic, and now, more than ever, she understood its power. But there was something else, something deeper, a sense of belonging that was far stronger than she could have ever imagined. Kaelen's eyes met hers, And for a moment, neither of them spoke. But they didn't need to. They both understood what had changed. The bond between them had grown, deepened, like roots connecting them to the earth. And with that connection came the realization that they had become something more than just allies or companions. "You did it," Kaelen said softly, his voice filled with awe. Astrid smiled up at him, a tired but satisfied smile. "We did it. Together." But Kaelen's expression grew more serious as he looked toward the horizon. "We may have won this battle, but the war is far from over. Talon was just a part of a much larger plan. There will be more who come for you." "Astrid." Astrid's heart sank at his words. But she nodded. She knew he was right. Talon had been powerful, but the energy he had wielded was just a glimpse of what was to come. There were forces at work far beyond their understanding. And the magic they had just tapped into was only a part of a much larger mystery. "I know," she said quietly, her gaze now turned toward the darkening sky. "But I'm ready. Whatever happens, I'll face it." Kaelen studied her for a moment, his eyes softening as he placed a hand on her shoulder. "You've proven that you're stronger than anyone realized. You don't have to do this alone. We'll face whatever comes together." Astrid smiled, warmth spreading through her chest at his words. "Together," she repeated. The word felt like a promise, one that she would hold on to no matter what. They began walking together through the forest, the path ahead still uncertain but no longer filled with fear. The magic had been unlocked, and with it, the truth of Astrid's purpose. She was not just a girl caught in the middle of a world of power and politics. She was the key to a balance that had been lost for generations. And as they moved deeper into the forest, side by side, Astrid felt a renewed sense of hope. Whatever lay ahead, they would face it together. The next few days passed in a blur of planning and preparation. Kaelen and Astrid had retreated to a small, hidden village nestled in the heart of the forest, away from prying eyes. They knew that Talon's allies would be searching for them, and they needed time to rest and strategize. During their time in the village, Astrid continued to train, honing her skills with the moon's magic under Kaelen's watchful eye. They spent hours together, practicing control and harnessing the magic she had once feared. With each passing day, her confidence grew, and the bond between them strengthened. But even as they trained, a shadow hung over them. They both knew that time was running out. Talon's defeat had been a temporary victory, but his influence was far-reaching, and the dark forces he commanded were relentless. "We need to find the source," Kaelen said one evening as they sat together by the fire. "We need to understand what Talon was after what he was planning." Astrid nodded, her brow furrowed in thought. "The moon's magic. It's powerful, but it's also dangerous. I don't think Talon wanted it just for himself. There's something else. He was after something deeper. Something tied to the ancient magic that's been lost for centuries." Kaelen's eyes darkened. "The ancient magic. That's what we need to find. It's the only way to stop him for good." Astrid felt a chill run down her spine at the mention of the ancient magic. She had heard rumors of its existence, whispers of a power so great it could shape the world itself. But no one had ever truly understood it. No one had ever truly been able to control it. And now, Astrid and Kaelen were on the verge of uncovering its secrets. The next morning, they set out on their journey to find the ancient magic, following the clues that had been left behind in the wake of Talon's rise to power. They journeyed deep into the mountains, through caves and forests, each step taking them closer to the truth. But the closer they got, the more dangerous their path became. They were being hunted, watched by eyes they could not see. Astrid could feel it, a presence lurking in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike. And then, one evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, they found it, a hidden temple, buried deep within the mountainside. Its walls were covered in ancient symbols, glowing faintly in the fading light. The air was thick with magic, the very ground beneath their feet humming with power. "This is it," Kaelen whispered, his voice filled with awe. Astrid's heart raced as she stepped forward, drawn to the temple. This was the moment they had been searching for the key to everything. Together, they entered the temple, knowing that whatever lay ahead would change everything. As Astrid and Kaelen stepped into the temple, the air seemed to thicken, as if the very walls were alive with ancient power. The stone floor was smooth beneath their feet, worn down by the passage of time. Strange, glowing symbols adorned the walls, shifting in a pattern that Astrid could almost understand, as if they were calling out to her. The temple pulsed with energy, and the closer they got to the center, the more the magic seemed to resonate within her. "Do you feel it?" Kaelen whispered, his voice low. Astrid nodded, feeling a deep, almost intoxicating pull toward the altar at the far end of the temple. The altar was carved from a single block of black stone, inscribed with more of the glowing symbols that seemed to shift and change with the light. In the center of the altar was a crystal, glowing with a soft, inner light. Astrid approached it slowly, as though her very being was drawn toward it. Her fingers hovered just above the crystal, feeling its warmth. The closer she got, the more she felt the magic inside it. A power so ancient that it almost seemed to hum with life. "This is it," Astrid said softly, her voice reverberating in the quiet temple. "This is the source." Kaelen moved beside her, his eyes scanning the room as if wary of any potential danger. "Be careful," he said. "We don't know what kind of magic Talon has left behind here." Astrid hesitated for a moment but then reached out, her fingers brushing against the crystal. The moment she made contact, a surge of energy shot through her, and her vision blurred. The symbols on the walls of the temple flared with blinding light, and the ground beneath them trembled. Kaelen grabbed her arm, steadying her as she staggered back. Astrid, she blinked, trying to regain her bearings. The world around her seemed to shift and warp, as if the temple itself was alive. Breathing with ancient power, the crystal glowed brighter now, its light more intense, and the magic it radiated seemed to seep into her very soul. Astrid's heart raced as visions began to flood her mind. She saw flashes of ancient battles, powerful warriors wielding magic more destructive than anything she had ever encountered. But there was something else, something deeper, a dark force that had once threatened to consume the world. The vision shifted again, and she saw a man standing alone, his eyes burning with determination. Talon. But there was more: his connection to the ancient magic, the twisted bond that had corrupted him. It was not just power that he sought, but control over something far older, far more dangerous. "He wants to control it," Astrid whispered, her voice hoarse as the vision faded. "The ancient magic. He wants to use it to reshape the world." Kaelen's grip on her arm tightened. "Astrid, what's happening? You're trembling." I saw it," she gasped. "Talon isn't just a raider. He's trying to unlock the magic here, to control it. It's more than just power. He wants to remake everything." Kaelen's expression darkened. "Then we have to stop him. We can't let him get any closer to this power." Astrid nodded, though a sense of dread settled in her chest. She had seen the depths of Talon's ambition, and it terrified her. The magic within the temple was not just a tool, it was a force, a living thing that could change the world, and Talon was determined to use it, no matter the cost. She looked up at the crystal again, her hand hovering near it. The connection between her and the magic felt undeniable, but it also felt dangerous. The ancient power that pulsed within the crystal was not something that could be controlled easily, if at all. But she had no choice. Talon would stop at nothing to get what he wanted. "We need to destroy it," Astrid said, her voice firm. "We can't let him have it." Kaelen nodded, his eyes hardening with resolve. "But how? We don't even know how to use it." "I don't know," Astrid admitted, "but we have to try." The journey back to the village was filled with a sense of urgency. Every step felt heavier, as though the very air around them had thickened with the knowledge of what was at stake. Talon's ambition was no longer just a shadow in the distance. It was a storm on the horizon, and it was heading straight for them. Astrid and Kaelen did not speak much during their walk. There was too much to think about. Too much that had changed in such a short amount of time. They had come to the temple in search of answers. And they had found them. But the answers had only raised more questions. Talon's connection to the ancient magic was clear. But what did that mean for Astrid? What was her role in all of this? She had used the magic before, but only in a limited way. The power she had felt in the temple had been unlike anything she had experienced before. It was as though the very foundation of the world was shifting beneath her feet. I don't know what to do. Kaelen, she admitted, breaking the silence as they neared the village. This magic. It's too much. Kaelen glanced at her, his expression softening. You're not alone in this. Astrid, we'll figure it out together. She smiled weakly, grateful for his reassurance. But the doubt still lingered in the pit of her stomach. The magic was a force to be reckoned with. And Talon was not the only one who would seek it out. There were others, those who would do anything to control the power within the temple. But there was no time to waste. They had to find a way to stop Talon before it was too late. The village was quiet when they arrived, the sun beginning to dip below the horizon, casting long shadows across the dirt roads. The villagers went about their evening routines, unaware of the storm that was brewing just beyond their borders. Astrid and Kaelen made their way to the small cottage where they had been staying. The warmth of the fire was a welcome comfort, but it did little to ease the tension that had settled between them. Astrid sat down heavily at the table, her mind spinning with everything they had learned. We can't fight Talon alone, Kaelen said, his voice low as he paced the room. We need help. We need to warn the others. Gather forces. Astrid looked up at him, her gaze sharp. I know, but where do we even begin? Talon has already gathered his own army. We go to the kingdom, Kaelen said, pausing to face her. We'll go to the king. We tell him everything. Astrid frowned. The king won't listen. He's already dismissed us once. Why would he listen now? Because this time, we have proof. Kaelen replied. We have the ancient magic. And we have the knowledge to stop Talon. Astrid's mind raced. Kaelen was right. The king might not have listened before. But things had changed. Talon's rise to power had disrupted everything. If they could convince the king of the danger Talon posed, they might just have a chance to unite the kingdom against him. All right, Astrid said, standing up and meeting Kaelen's gaze. We'll go to the kingdom, but we do it carefully. We don't trust anyone. Kaelen nodded. Agreed. The journey to the kingdom was far more perilous than Astrid had anticipated. They traveled through dense forests, across rivers that ran too fast for comfort, and through steep mountain passes where the air grew thin and cold. Yet, despite the treacherous terrain, Astrid and Kaelen pressed forward. Every day, their purpose became clearer. They had to stop Talon. They had to prevent the magic from falling into the wrong hands. By the time they reached the kingdom, the city gates were already closing for the night. The towering walls of the castle loomed above them, casting long shadows across the courtyard. The streets were bustling with activity, merchants packing up their goods, and the sounds of distant laughter and music filling the air. Are you sure about this? Kaelen asked, his voice low as they approached the castle. The king might not listen. And if he doesn't, I know, Astrid said, her voice resolute. But we don't have a choice. We need him on our side. If Talon succeeds, no one will be safe, not even the king. They reached the castle gates, where a pair of armored guards stood watch. Astrid stepped forward, her heart pounding in her chest. The guards eyed them with suspicion, but Astrid held her ground. We wish to see the king, she said, her voice steady despite the nerves that threatened to betray her. The guards exchanged a glance before one of them spoke. The king is not meeting with anyone tonight. The court is closed for the evening. We have information about Talon. Kaelen interjected, his voice sharp. Information that could change everything. The guards paused, considering. Finally, they nodded. Wait here. I'll fetch someone who can help. Astrid and Kaelen waited in tense silence, the weight of their mission pressing down on them. Moments later, A man in a robe of royal crimson approached. His eyes were sharp, and his expression unreadable. "You're requesting an audience with the king?" the man asked. His voice measured. "Yes," Astrid replied. Stepping forward, "We have urgent news about Talon. It's about the magic he's trying to control." The man's eyes flickered with interest. But he didn't respond immediately. He studied them both, as if weighing their sincerity. "Follow me," he said finally. They were led through a series of hallways, the air thick with the scent of incense and the muffled sounds of the kingdom's business being conducted in other chambers. The stone walls seemed to close in around them as they approached the king's chambers. When they finally entered the throne room, it was vast and opulent, with gold-adorned tapestries hanging from the walls and a massive chandelier casting a soft glow over the room. At the far end of the hall sat a man on a throne, his regal presence filling the space. The king was tall, with sharp features and an air of authority that made him instantly commanding. "Your Majesty," the man in crimson said, bowing deeply before stepping aside. "These are the travelers with news about Talon." The king looked up, his eyes sharp as they scanned Astrid and Kaelen. He said nothing for a moment, his gaze lingering on them as if assessing their worth. Then he motioned for them to step forward. "Speak," he said, his voice calm but carrying the weight of command. Astrid took a deep breath, gathering her thoughts before speaking. "Talon is not just a raider. He's trying to control the ancient magic hidden in the temple. The magic he's after is older than anything we've encountered. It could change everything. If he gets it, he could reshape the world." The king remained silent, his eyes narrowing slightly. "And what makes you think you can stop him?" His tone was skeptical, but there was a flicker of something in his eyes, a hint of curiosity. "I can," Astrid said, her voice firm. "I've already felt its power. I can sense it. But it's dangerous, and Talon has a plan to use it. We need to stop him before it's too late." The king studied her for a long moment before responding. "The power you speak of? I have heard rumors of it, but the temple is far from here, hidden deep in the mountains. How do you propose to stop him?" Astrid glanced at Kaelen before answering. "We need to destroy the source of the magic. We need to keep it from falling into Talon's hands." The king leaned forward, his gaze intensifying. "And you think you can do this alone?" Astrid swallowed hard. "No. I need your help. We need resources. We need soldiers. Talon is building an army, and he's already started gathering followers. He has a network. If we don't act quickly, he will become unstoppable." The king's expression shifted, his gaze growing more contemplative. "I do not trust easily," he said slowly. "And yet, you seem convinced of this threat. What would you have me do?" Astrid's heart raced. This was the moment. "I need your permission to act," she said. "I need to be able to gather allies, train soldiers, and prepare to face Talon before it's too late." The king's fingers drummed lightly on the armrest of his throne as he considered her words. Finally, he spoke. "Very well," he said, his voice carrying a weight that made Astrid's chest tighten. "You will have the resources you need. But know this: if you fail, it will be your responsibility, and I will not protect you from the consequences. The throne will not be endangered by your ambition." Astrid nodded, her resolve hardening. "I understand, and I won't fail." The king stood, signaling that the meeting was over. "Then go, and make sure your preparation is swift. Time is a luxury we do not have." With the king's blessing, Astrid and Kaelen set out to gather allies. They visited neighboring villages, seeking warriors, healers, and anyone willing to stand against Talon's growing influence. But it wasn't just soldiers they needed. They needed information, strategies, and most importantly, the courage to face what lay ahead. As they traveled from town to town, Astrid couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching them. The magic in the air had changed, becoming heavier, more oppressive. She felt it more acutely now, as if the world itself was shifting beneath her feet. One evening, as they camped by the edge of the forest, Kaelen spoke up. Astrid, are you sure about this? He asked, his voice low. Are you sure we're ready for what's coming? Astrid looked at him, her expression unreadable. We have to be, she said. There's no turning back now. Kaelen nodded, though a flicker of doubt remained in his eyes. Then we move forward. Together. And so they did. With each passing day, their small group grew stronger, more unified. But even as they prepared for the battle ahead, Astrid couldn't shake the nagging feeling that Talon was already one step ahead. As the days stretched on, the journey to find the temple became more perilous. Astrid and Kaelen led their small group of warriors and allies through treacherous forests and across rugged mountains. The weather turned colder, and the further they traveled, the less familiar the terrain became. The air grew thin, and Astrid could feel the weight of the task pressing on her shoulders. We're getting close, Kaelen said one evening as they set up camp. He pointed toward the jagged peaks that loomed ahead, the moonlight casting an eerie glow over them. How do you know? Astrid asked, frowning. She felt it too, an unsettling sense of urgency, but she wasn't sure how Kaelen could be so certain. The ancient texts, Kaelen replied. The temple is hidden beneath those peaks, buried deep within the mountains. I've studied them. We're following the right path. Astrid nodded, though a sense of foreboding lingered in her chest. She had heard the stories the temple was said to be protected by ancient magic, and many who had tried to find it before had disappeared without a trace. But they couldn't stop now. Too much was at stake. As they journeyed deeper into the mountains, they encountered fewer signs of civilization. The narrow, winding paths became more treacherous, the air colder and thinner. Still, Astrid pressed on, leading her group through the harsh terrain with determination. One night, as they camped at the base of a steep ridge, Astrid woke to a strange noise. It was faint at first, a soft rustling in the trees, but it grew louder as she strained to listen. She got up quietly, her sword at her side, and crept to the edge of the camp. Kaelen, she whispered, her voice barely audible. She didn't want to wake the others unless she had to, but she needed to know if he had heard it too. Kaelen stirred from his blanket and sat up, his eyes immediately alert. What is it? I hear something, Astrid said, her voice tinged with unease. It's coming from the forest. Kaelen's expression darkened. Stay close. We don't know what's out there. Astrid nodded, moving quietly behind Kaelen as they approached the edge of the camp. The wind whispered through the trees, but nothing else seemed to stir. Kaelen stepped forward, his hand on the hilt of his sword. I don't like this, he muttered, scanning the shadows beyond the firelight. Suddenly, there was a rustling in the underbrush, followed by a sharp crack. Both of them turned, eyes wide, and ready for whatever might come out of the dark. But to their surprise, it wasn't an enemy or a wild animal. Instead, it was a figure slender, cloaked in shadows, and moving swiftly toward them. Astrid. Kaelen, the figure whispered, stopping just at the edge of their camp. I've been waiting for you. Kaelen tensed, his hand going instinctively to his sword. But Astrid stepped forward, her heart beating faster. She recognized the voice. Alina, she asked, her voice a mix of relief and confusion. What are you doing here? The woman who stepped into the firelight was tall, with raven-black hair and a look of quiet strength in her eyes. Alina, a healer and a skilled tracker, had been one of Astrid's oldest allies. She had vanished without a trace several weeks ago, leaving no word or sign of where she had gone. Astrid had assumed the worst. I've been tracking Talon, Alina said, her voice low and urgent. I know where he's headed. Astrid's heart skipped a beat. Where? We've been searching for the temple for days. Do you know how to find it? Alina nodded, a grim expression on her face. I know exactly where it is. But we have to hurry. Talon's forces are already there. He's closing in on the magic. And if we don't stop him soon, everything will be lost. Kaelen exchanged a glance with Astrid. We don't have much time. Then, lead the way. Alina nodded and turned, disappearing into the darkness of the forest. Astrid and Kaelen followed, the rest of their group waking and packing up quickly behind them. The journey was about to take a dangerous turn, and they couldn't afford to lose any more time. The forest gave way to rocky terrain as Alina led them higher into the mountains. The air grew colder and thinner with every step, and Astrid could feel the weight of the magical energy pressing down on them. The temple was near. She could feel it in her bones. "We're almost there," Alina said as she stopped to catch her breath. She pointed toward the jagged peaks ahead. "The temple lies just beyond that ridge. But be warned, it's not just a place of magic. It's a place of trials. The ancient magic that protects it won't let you enter without paying the price." "What kind of price?" Kaelen asked, his voice cautious. "A test," Alina replied, her eyes dark with the memory. "A trial of strength, courage, and willpower. Only those who are truly worthy can enter." Astrid felt a knot tighten in her stomach. She had heard stories of ancient trials, of tests that pushed even the bravest warriors to their breaking point. But there was no turning back now. They had to face whatever lay ahead. They continued on, climbing higher until they reached the foot of the ridge. A narrow path wound up the side of the mountain, leading to an opening in the stone. At the entrance, a large stone door loomed, covered in ancient runes that seemed to shimmer in the moonlight. "This is it," Alina said, her voice barely a whisper. "The entrance to the temple." Astrid stepped forward, her heart pounding in her chest. She reached out to touch the stone door, and the moment her fingers brushed the surface, the runes glowed brightly, casting an eerie light over the mountainside. The door creaked open, and a gust of cold air rushed past them, carrying the scent of old magic. "Be ready for anything," Alina said, stepping inside. "The trial has begun." Astrid, Kaelen, and the rest of the group followed her into the temple. The walls were lined with ancient carvings, depicting scenes of battle, magic, and sacrifice. The air inside was thick with power, and Astrid could feel the magic swirling around them, testing them, watching them. Suddenly, the ground beneath their feet trembled, and the walls seemed to shift. The path ahead split into multiple directions, each leading to a different chamber. A voice echoed through the temple, deep and resonant. "Choose your path wisely. Only one will lead to the heart of the magic. The others will lead to destruction." Astrid's pulse quickened. The trial had begun. Astrid's heart raced as the voice echoed through the vast temple. She felt the weight of the decision pressing on her, the fear of making the wrong choice gnawing at her. "There's no time to waste," Kaelen said, his voice firm but tense. "We'll have to make a decision soon. The temple's magic is alive, and it's watching us." Astrid nodded, trying to calm her nerves. The walls around them seemed to close in, the flickering shadows of the torches casting an eerie glow. The path ahead was split into three, one leading down into a dark, spiraling staircase, another winding toward a cavernous opening that seemed to pulse with energy, and the third rising sharply into the mountainside, disappearing into the darkness. "I don't know which path to take," Astrid whispered, her eyes darting from one path to another. Each path felt like a risk, each one potentially leading them deeper into the heart of the temple or straight into danger. Alina stepped forward, her eyes scanning the three choices. "This trial isn't about finding the easiest way. It's about testing our courage. We must face our fears. The path that feels most difficult is likely the one that will lead us to the heart of the temple." Kaelen looked at Astrid, his gaze serious. "The path of courage. Then, if we are to defeat Talon and protect the magic, we must not be afraid to face whatever lies ahead." Astrid nodded, taking a deep breath. "Then we'll take the path that leads us into the darkness. We can't back down now." With a shared glance, they stepped toward the steep path that rose sharply ahead. The air grew colder the higher they climbed, and the temple seemed to close in around them. The walls pressed closer, the magic in the air vibrating with power. They ascended, every step heavy with the weight of their purpose. As they neared the top of the mountain, the path narrowed, and the temperature dropped even further. Frost began to form on the stone walls, and the wind howled, carrying with it an eerie, almost otherworldly sound. Astrid felt the pull of the magic, the weight of the trial growing stronger. The path ended at a stone door, older and more worn than the others they had encountered. It was adorned with intricate runes that glowed softly in the dark. The door was sealed tight, and Astrid could feel the presence of powerful magic emanating from it. "Is this it?" Kaelen asked. Stepping forward, Astrid nodded, her heart pounding in her chest. She reached out and placed her hand against the door, feeling the pulse of ancient magic beneath her fingertips. The runes on the door began to glow brighter, and a voice echoed in the air, deep and resonant. "Only those with true courage may pass." Astrid's breath hitched as the door began to creak open, revealing a dark, vast chamber inside. The air was thick with power, and she could feel the presence of the temple's heart, the ancient magic that had been hidden for centuries. She stepped forward, leading the way into the unknown. As they entered the chamber, the door slammed shut behind them with a deafening boom, and the room fell into complete darkness. Astrid's breath quickened, and she reached for the torch at her side, lighting it with a spark from her flint. The chamber around them was massive, the walls lost in shadow. In the center of the room was an altar, bathed in an eerie, dim light. The air was thick with magic, so dense that it almost felt like it was pressing down on them. "Astrid," Kaelen said quietly, his voice filled with awe. "This place. It's ancient. Stay close," Astrid whispered. She could feel the pulse of magic around them, ancient and wild, and it sent a shiver down her spine. As they approached the altar, a figure appeared in the darkness, a ghostly figure draped in shadow. The figure moved slowly toward them, its form flickering like a mirage. Astrid's heart raced, and she instinctively reached for her sword. Though she knew that this wasn't an enemy they could simply fight, the figure stopped before them, and Astrid felt an overwhelming presence. Like a storm that had gathered just beyond the horizon, the figure spoke in a voice that was both deep and soft, echoing through the chamber. "Welcome, Astrid," the figure said. "You have come to face the trial of the heart. Here, you will face the truth of your own desires, your own fears. Only by confronting the deepest parts of yourself can you unlock the magic of the temple." Astrid's breath caught in her throat. She had heard of this, the trial of the heart, where one must confront their deepest emotions and fears in order to prove themselves worthy of the temple's power. "What do I have to do?" Astrid asked, her voice steady, though she could feel her heart pounding in her chest. The figure extended its hand, and the shadows parted, revealing a mirror in the center of the room. The mirror's surface shimmered, and Astrid could see her own reflection staring back at her. But it wasn't just her, it was her reflection, twisted and distorted, showing her greatest fears. "You must face what lies within," the figure said. "Only then will you be able to pass." Astrid stepped forward, her reflection shifting in the mirror. She saw herself strong, determined, fearless. But then the image changed. She saw herself weak, broken, unable to protect those she loved. She saw herself alone, a failure in the eyes of those who depended on her. Her heart clenched, and she felt a wave of guilt wash over her. How could she lead her people if she was afraid to face her own flaws? How could she protect them if she feared the consequences of her actions? "You must face it," the figure said again, its voice gentle but firm. "The fear, the doubt, it's all part of you. Only by accepting it can you become whole." Astrid closed her eyes. Taking a deep breath, she had faced countless battles. But this was different. This was a battle within herself. She opened her eyes and stared into the mirror, her reflection no longer distorted. She saw the truth, her strength, her courage, her willingness to sacrifice for those she loved. She wasn't perfect, but she was determined. "I accept it," she whispered, her voice steady. "I accept all of it." The mirror shimmered, and the figure nodded, its form fading into the darkness. "You have passed the trial," the figure said, its voice fading. "The magic of the temple is now yours." The room around them shifted, the walls opening to reveal a glowing stone in the center of the altar. Astrid approached it, her heart swelling with a sense of accomplishment. She had faced her fears, and now the magic was within her grasp. Astrid reached out and touched the glowing stone, and the moment her fingers made contact, the chamber came alive with magic. The stone pulsed beneath her hand, radiating a warmth that spread throughout her entire body. The air hummed with ancient power, and the walls of the temple seemed to breathe. "Astrid," Kaelen called, his voice filled with awe. "Look," she turned toward him. But before she could speak, the temple seemed to shift. The stone beneath her feet trembled, and a blinding light filled the room. For a moment, everything went white, and she felt herself being lifted, drawn into the light. Then, as suddenly as it had come, the light faded, and Astrid found herself standing in a vast, open space. The air was thick with energy, and in the distance, she could see a figure standing alone, bathed in light. "It's the heart of the temple," Alina whispered. "This is where the magic is born." Astrid nodded, her heart pounding in her chest. She felt the weight of the temple's power, its presence overwhelming and beautiful all at once. She stepped forward, the ground beneath her feet soft as if she was walking on clouds. As she neared the figure, she realized it was not just any person, it was the embodiment of the temple's magic itself. The figure turned toward her, its face radiant with power. It spoke in a voice that resonated deep within her soul. "Astrid, you have proven your worth. You have faced your fears and embraced the trials of the heart. You are now ready to wield the magic of the temple." The figure's form shimmered, and Astrid felt the magic of the temple flowing into her, coursing through her veins. The energy was unlike anything she had ever felt, pure, raw, and full of life. It filled every part of her, unlocking her potential in ways she had never imagined. "The magic of the temple is not just power," the figure continued. "It is a bond that connects all things: the earth, the sky, the people. You will now carry this bond within you. Use it wisely." Astrid's hands trembled as she felt the magic settle within her. But it was not overwhelming. It was a part of her now, as natural as breathing. She looked around, feeling the weight of her responsibility settle in. She could feel the lives of her people, the world itself, connected through this magic. "I will protect them," Astrid said, her voice steady. "I'll protect everyone." The figure nodded, its smile warm. "You have already made the choice that will shape the future. Now, go and fulfill your destiny." With a final look, the figure vanished into the light, and the chamber began to fade. The magic still hummed in the air, but the world around Astrid began to shift back to the temple's stone walls. Astrid found herself back in the temple, her hand still resting on the glowing stone. She slowly pulled away, the warmth of the magic still lingering on her skin. The temple's power was within her now, and the weight of it was both humbling and exhilarating. Kaelen, Alina, and the rest of the group were standing near the altar, their eyes wide with awe. They had all felt the shift in the air, the surge of energy that had come from the heart of the temple. "You did it," Kaelen said, his voice filled with admiration. "You've unlocked the magic." Astrid nodded, feeling the weight of her journey settling within her. The magic was hers now. But so was the responsibility. "We have a long way to go," she said, her voice determined. "Talon is still out there, and we need to stop him before it's too late." Alina stepped forward, her eyes filled with resolve. "We'll face him together." Astrid's heart swelled with gratitude for her companions. They had stood by her through every trial, every challenge. Now, they were more than just allies, they were family. With a final look at the altar, Astrid turned and led the group toward the exit of the temple. They had the power now. But it wasn't just the magic that would see them through, it was their unity, their strength in each other, The journey back to the village was long, but with each step, Astrid could feel the magic of the temple growing stronger within her. It was as if the earth itself was guiding her, pushing her forward to the final confrontation with Kaelen. As they neared the village, the air grew thick with tension, the sky had darkened, and an eerie silence had settled over the land. The people of the village were waiting, their eyes filled with fear, but also hope. Astrid knew that the final battle was coming. The magic of the temple had given her the strength to face Kaelen, but it would be her will, her determination, that would truly make the difference. She stood at the edge of the village, her hand resting on the sword at her side. Her heart pounded, but she didn't hesitate. She was ready. Kaelen won't stand a chance, she said, her voice steady. Her companions nodded, their faces set with determination. Together, they would defeat Kaelen. Together, they would restore peace to the world. The battle with Kaelen was fierce, but in the end, it was Astrid's unwavering determination and the power of the temple's magic that brought victory. Kaelen was defeated, and the people of the village rejoiced, their fear replaced by hope. Astrid stood at the heart of the village, the magic of the temple still coursing through her. The power was hers. But it was not a burden, it was a gift. One she would use to protect those she loved and to ensure that the world remained in balance. As the sun rose over the horizon, Astrid looked to the future. She had faced her fears, embraced the trials of the heart, and unlocked the magic of the temple. Now, it was time to build a new future, one where peace would reign and the magic would guide them all. With a smile, Astrid stepped forward, ready to begin the next chapter of her journey. And that brings us to the end of today's story. I truly hope you enjoyed it and that it warmed your heart. If you're craving more romantic, captivating tales, don't forget to check out the rest of the stories on my channel, from fated love to twists of fate. There's always something new and exciting to discover. You can also take my stories with you wherever you go. All of my tales are available on Spotify under Lily's Romance Library. You'll find the link in the description below. A huge thank you to each and every one of you who's supporting this journey. Your encouragement means the world to me, and I'm so grateful to have such wonderful listeners. Until next time, remember to keep dreaming, keep loving, and always cherish the magic of a good story.